Welcome. Got Jason and Louise here, who have got a grin on their face the size of Cheshire cats, and dressed very casually because they are now. Are we allowed to use the official word, guys?
Yeah, I think so.
We think so. They've retired, so they've tapped out of their practice. How long ago is it? How long ago since you've officially handed the reins over?
2 weeks today.
Yeah, literally, yeah. 14 days ago.
So thanks for taking the time today. What I'd love to do is share your journey throughout the last 5 years. And it's fascinating because this is the whole process from, where you were, and we'll talk about that, to where you are now. One of the things when I'm talking to practices and they're involved in a program or a process, I'm interested to tell me, what was it like? And they go, oh, yeah, I went to this event. It was really great. And my question is always, yes, so what? What I'm interested in is, tell me about the results, tell me about the before and afters and things like that. And what I love about yours is it's a whole journey from, it's really been quite a journey. So if we can flip back and wow, how long ago was that? 5 years when we first chatted?
Yeah, it was. It was 5 years next month, I think.
If you share where your practice was at, so a little bit about the practice, where it was at back then, and of course we'll talk about where it's at now. Yeah, what was life back along there, both in the practice and personally?
So 5 years ago was during COVID, and we didn't have a lot of lockdowns, but it still impacted how we were working. And I ended up just micromanaging, taking stuff back from other staff. And I don't know, I was really stressed, burnt out, overwhelmed. We weren't really making any money. So financially, it was tough. And yeah, we just didn't really know what was next. We started our business in 2007, wasn't it? So we've been running for a while, but just not really making any progress.
Yeah.
What?
And from my point at the time, I suppose what I was feeling, I could see Louise was the main worker within the business and manager, because I also work outside the vet clinic as a firefighter. But I could see that the stress that Louise was under, and she was basically in a state of depression, really. And I was really just concerned about her well-being.
So why was it? So you'd had the business 10 years, really, probably, yeah, 10 years or more prior to when we first spoke. Um, had you started that as a startup, or as it was a ongoing entity when you bought it?
No, so it was an ongoing entity. So it was the very first job I ever had as a new grad, and I thought I'd come here for 18 months. And ended up, we went to UK for a while. And when we came back, I wanted to be my own boss. So I thought, great, I'll buy the business off my old boss, which we did. And I think one of the reasons maybe it wasn't going as well as it could as well is that I hadn't really worked anywhere else. So all I knew was this one clinic, and you just did stuff the way you'd always done it. And yeah, we hadn't really got a lot of experience from anywhere else. And most of the vets employed were new grads. So they were always learning from me rather than me learning from anyone else.
There's also a lot of other things which we'll probably delve into with some of your questions about AMG, because we learn a lot about ourselves along the way. And I suppose that comes down to your work ethic, the way you go about doing business, the way you manage life, and we probably just had this. Were brought up in households that had this mentality that you work hard to get ahead, and that was kind of the focus of working hard, not smart necessarily, and putting that effort in the right areas within the business.
And so that had got you to a place of where you'd used that strategy for, I guess, 10 years and some. We've done the hard work, but you weren't really getting the result that you were expecting, as in, well, you were burnt out and just not so profitable. So coming to that point, where were you at emotionally? Like, you must have decided to do something. Like, I know I didn't cold call you. You must have responded to something, or jumped in a chat, or joined a webinar or something. Where was your mind at then, thinking about the future, that got you to do something?
So that's basically what happened. I jumped on a webinar that Lisa Keepers was speaking in, and it was about her journey and where she'd gone. And I know I was driving to like a colleague. It was 10 o'clock at night, and I was listening to this webinar, and I literally pulled over and went, "Oh my God, things need to change." Like, this is somebody who was doing it all, burning herself out. She got to the point she forgot to meet her friend for coffee one day because she was so overwhelmed with work. And I thought, that is me. She's just describing me. And so that was the start of the process. And because I signed up for that webinar, we then got in touch.
And I suppose at this stage I didn't know what was coming, but I suppose also the link with Lisa was we'd actually
Come across her.
Yeah, we were actually involved in a small little group of only about 5 practices that just used to get together at Provet headquarters in SA and on an evening and just sort of every few months and go through a bit of practice management issues and try help each other through. And that was where we'd first met Lisa. And when we first met Lisa, that was, I think she'd only just started AMG. Had she started yet, or was about to start? And yeah, I mean, she was in the same place we were. She was pretty broken at that stage.
I'm just curious. A question that comes to mind. So you have this sliding door moment, or what we call a nexus point, where you've gone, something's got to change. I just can't keep doing this. What was how was it playing out in your, personal life, in your health and relationships, and you had young children and all these sort of things, and how you're feeling about yourselves? How was that playing out at that point in time?
Well, I think like we're lucky with each other that our relationship's always been pretty strong. So relationship wise, that was still okay, but it was putting a lot of stress on family life. That we had our 3 kids. I was pregnant with Sam when we started this business. He's our middle child. So we've had the kids and worked full time the whole time. And I was not in a good way. I was depressed. I was stressed. I probably was pretty snappy at home. I was putting everything into work and just feeling like I wasn't getting much back. So yeah, it wasn't great.
So let's assume if you went back to that moment in time that you went, I'll just figure it out. I'll just tough it out. So that's 5 years ago. How do you reckon that could have played out?
I don't think I could have toughed it out, Sam. I mean, when you first spoke to me, I was a bit of a wreck and I couldn't really see a way out. I did not know what to do. And I wouldn't like to think what had happened if we hadn't made some pretty immediate progress, actually. It was bad.
Well, if I remember the phone call, and I do, you were probably actually in a place of quite fearful. Like you were obviously overwhelmed, overcooked. It seemed to me that I just don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do from here. Would that be a fair representation?
Yeah, it is. And we were speaking earlier when we knew we were going to catch up with you today. And I said, one of the things, I think I could see that there wasn't a way out. And I was almost scared to hope that there could be a way out.
Yeah.
So that was a really big sort of block in me thinking, is there someone that can fix this? I didn't really believe it, but I wanted to believe it. And it was a big leap of faith.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a chat. As I recall, you said, sounds like a good idea, but no, I get what it's too much money, or it won't work for us, or I don't have time. They're the 3 usual suspects. And as I recall, I rang you back and went, no, wrong decision. You have to come on this. Otherwise you're in a world of pain and it'll continue. What was some of those, and interested to hear from both of you, some of the resistance or concerns about jumping into something like this?
I'll just go first. Sorry, I don't have much to say on this, I don't think, although I usually have a lot to say. I think I was worried I felt I was already burnt out and working as hard as I possibly could. So the thought of taking on more was a fear for me. Obviously, I know definitely now it's about focusing on the right thing. But at the time, it was like, how can I possibly do more than what I'm currently doing?
Right. So the thought process was, I don't have the time. I'm cooked already. I can't take something else on my plate. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you rang me. It was actually at a footy game, I remember. And
You were driving in your car when I was
Yeah.
speaking to you.
And then you were
we'll drive. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Started the footy game and you're driving in your car.
Then I rang you back at footy. That's right.
and paced around the ground.
And paced around the ground. But at the time, I suppose from my point of view, obviously I could see the stress that Louise was under, and she was keen to sort of try this. And I was very skeptical, right? I suppose with anything that I'd come across we spoke about it earlier, we'd had the business by this stage by 13 years. And
yeah.
And over that time, we'd tried several different coaching programs, but smaller ones, like whether it might be a day or a 3-day thing here, or, things that you pick up at conferences, which we were always willing to go to. I was just very skeptical that we sort of got results from any of those things. We'd get small results, but not much. And it just wouldn't get traction. And it was certainly not life-changing, right? So then to outload what we saw as quite a bit of money to get this training, it was I was certainly skeptical, but I also remember having that chat with you, Sam, and basically by the end of it, I wasn't necessarily convinced, but I sort of was at that moment where I just thought, you know what, we've just got to try something, so let's give it a crack.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Yeah, we call that a 1-day event or a 2-day event. We call it a hit of heroin. It's great. You come back pumped. It's really good, but the longevity of the impact is often not very sustained.
Exactly, and we learn along the way, which I'm sure you might get this out of us anyway. But it's the persistent consistency that moves the needle. So yeah,
time under tension.
Yeah.
So there was a leap of faith, I guess, when you went like. It's sort of the saying, screw it, let's just do it. Like there's almost a point of surrender that you get to, that your mind's going crazy and crazy, and eventually you just go, stuff it, I'm in. Was that sort of what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, Sam. And Jason actually said to me, he said, right, if we do this, we're doing everything they tell us to do. We're just going to agree. And that was his thing. He said, I'll do it, but we need to listen to you. So
I was just probably a bit worried that we'd get involved, and then you guys would suggest something, and Louise might not like that. And I thought, well, no, if we're going to be getting help, we're all in.
Okay, probably good advice to yourself if you're to your coach, an athletic coach. He says how many laps you're doing, you don't get to decide that, because he's kind of got your best interest in mind. And even though it might be a bit cold and it's a bit far to run.
When I sit here thinking about that answer, I sit there and now I really wonder why it took me so long to hand over the bookkeeping.
I do remember tapping on that egg for a while to the crack.
2 years.
Yeah.
Constant reminding. But anyway.
There you go.
Well, it's fascinating, our programming, isn't it? The way, you've been doing things a certain way, you guys, for 13 years. Someone comes along and says, take a different direction. It can be a little confronting. Did you find the process once you started that there were, some of the things that were suggested went against your beliefs, or you found it was confronting?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things was certainly increasing prices. Our prices were not where they needed to be. And I struggled with, certainly at the time, I felt we weren't potentially providing the service and the value that those prices warranted. But by working on our processes and training and consistency with staff, that sort of all comes together, and that you're giving a great client experience, and it is worth the money that they're paying for it.
And there's also, that wasn't necessarily any change in the value or the experience that you were giving, but that's probably one big thing. And I tell this to people all the time, actually, is that when I tell them about business coaching that we've had, a massive part of it is actual personal coaching. It's about, I would certainly look back at the program that we started on, and the first session, if I remember, the first conference was a lot of it was looking within and trying to understand why you feel certain ways and how we got those mindsets and it's that, using your terminology, the story you tell yourself about things. And so that was another thing. I think once we were able to sort of break free of that was a story that Louise had been telling herself that she couldn't charge more. But, you work out there's lots of reasons why you can.
So you're in the process, you're going along. Was there anything that surprised you about what you had perceived and what reality was?
My biggest surprise was how we weren't alone. Like there was there was quite a few businesses within the group, and it didn't actually matter whether they were a sole practitioner or a mixed practice like us, or whether they were a bigger organization that really from the outside looking in looked like a really big successful business. They had the same problems. A lot of the time their KPIs were very similar, and they were struggling along in the same kind of fashion. So that was a real eye opener to me.
Was the outcome of that? Oh, I'm not the only one with this problem. So I think a lot of people have imposter syndrome running practices. They're like, well, I'm this business owner, but I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing. In fact, when we survey people, that's one of the more common things that come up with business owners and practice managers, incidentally, that they feel like they have imposter syndrome. Did you feel that you'd fit that category?
Yeah, I think you're right there when you felt the main thing was about not feeling alone and being with a similar group of like-minded people who all want to better themselves and better their business.
Yeah.
It just elevates you and it keeps you accountable as well. But surrounding yourself with people in the same situation, you can bounce ideas off each other, or they might have answers to some of your questions or face the same things. So yeah, it was really powerful. Like the coaching is fantastic, but the group that you work with is also where you get a lot of the value.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that realization for me, that, I was looking at these other practices that from me being outside, I imagined them to be just, smashing everything.
Yeah.
It was probably the same way and the same, I don't know. I know, we're in a regional area in South Australia. And so a lot of people around us, we know them, and you kind of get the feeling of what they think. And they were looking at us thinking, oh, we're smashing it. But we weren't, we were, falling apart really. But so it's that same viewpoint that people around us outside our business had of us that we had of other people within the business and within the coaching group. And it was that was a big thing for me to realize that.
Was there any dint in the ego or something like that of having to put up your hand and say, look, I'm not okay, like things aren't okay, I need some help? And I think we often see it that I think as vets we're trained that I'm smart, I should be able to figure this out, and that can actually get in the way of putting your hand up and saying, well, there's got to be a faster, easier way. Did that play out at all or not so much?
I don't think it did. I think I was just so needing help and a bit lost that I was willing to take on most of the advice. Sometimes it might have taken me a bit longer, but no, I don't think I had a problem with speaking up.
Yeah, I don't think I did either necessarily. I don't think I was, but I tell you what, I probably go around shouting from the rooftops now about the benefits of coaching. Of a bookkeeper. No, but of coaching. And from, as Sam, from AMG, that's led to some other things that we've ended up doing as well. And that coaching is, that's been a massive part of our progress.
But I suppose I would say that, like we've mentioned this bookkeeper thing a couple of times, and that was because Jason was doing most of our books on his off days. He wasn't getting paid, he wasn't enjoying it, so it was taking him hours. And it took a couple of years of nudging and being told by you guys for him to stop doing it. But his biggest fear, and that is the thing you had a fear of, was handing over something that wasn't done well.
Yeah.
You were worried that you hadn't done a good job, so how could somebody else take that on? We gave it to her, and it's just been brilliant. So that is part of being a bit scared to put your hand up and say help. and it took him a while, but it's
Yeah,
been great.
yeah, actually, looking at it from that point of view, 100%. That was why I held on to it, because I wanted to hand over a, almost like a finished product for her to start with, but it was just not that,
Wouldn't be, needless to say, it's probably not your zone of genius, is it, Jason? Bookkeeping?
No.
I don't think I'm that bad at it. So.
Here we are, 5 years later, still arm wrestling it.
He did pretty well. He didn't have a lot of choice, because I certainly wasn't doing it. So he did well for all the years he did it.
So can you explain, just share maybe a couple of the maybe strategies that you felt had a lot of impact? You've talked about pricing, which, depends on practice to practice. Some need to put prices up, some don't. I don't think that's the only lever you pull. But any particular, some strategies that you felt were kind of key to the turnaround? Or do you feel it was success by 1,000 little wins?
I think certainly getting the staff on board is a major thing, because you can go to events and come away all fired up and know what you want, but it's getting it right and being able to talk to your staff and get them on board and leverage off them. So that's been a good thing. We've got a really solid team, and our staff retention, we did have a really solid team till 2 weeks ago, because I'm not there now, but our staff retention over the last few years has really improved. But I think the other thing is monitoring, like majorly monitoring your KPIs, monitoring, like looking at invoice checking, making sure you're not missing charges, that you're covering everything, a whole load of stuff. If you can't monitor what you're doing, you've just got no idea. And that was a big thing.
Yeah, if you're not, and that goes across all aspects of the business. I think if you're not monitoring, you're not managing effectively. So that was a big learn for us.
And there was the conversations.
Yeah, the other big one is courageous conversations. The art of courageous conversations, and that was, we spent a fair bit of time on that. And that once you're not afraid to have those difficult conversations with staff, certainly with staff, because probably where most of them happen, it really frees you up to take control of the business.
And these courageous conversations, though, they were on issues of underperformance or poor culture or what sort of thing?
Everything and anything. I mean, anybody that's listening to this can imagine that any difficult conversation they have. I mean, it even used to come down to contract renewals, because at some stage during that contract renewal, there's going to be the conversation about how much they're going to get paid, and then we come up with ways around doing that. I mean, we have our own strategy with that, which every clinic will have their own, but just by being clear and concise and knowing what outcomes we wanted, we were able to have those conversations, and they actually.
And for me, that was a huge thing. I'm generally somebody that I'm a bit of a people pleaser, so I don't like saying no to people or making them. I wanted to be liked, and I know that was one of my reasons around pricing issues as well. And being able to have those courageous conversations, I actually start looking forward to them. I think, this is going to be good. And it gives your team clarity. I actually read recently, you guys did a staff survey on us, and that was one of the things that had shown through with me, was that I wasn't always clear. I could be a bit vague. So.
And Louise just said that she'd look forward to them, and that was because you got to the realization that if there was a period of time that you needed to have a courageous conversation, well, on the other side of that conversation, it was going to be better. One way or another, it was going to be better.
That's a massive turnaround, because for so many people listening, when I ask an audience who's got someone that they need to have a courageous conversation with, everyone in the audience puts their hand up. To move from I don't want to have that conversation to I'm looking forward to them because you're seeing them as a good thing, as part of improving the process, that's a big change. So share with me a little bit about how you feel, how you differently you see yourselves as business owners. And you've talked about the personal development. What's different now as opposed to 5 years ago, do you feel?
Confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, confidence.
What do you mean by confidence?
Well, I'm more confident in the fact I should be running a vet clinic rather than just it just sort of happened. No, I think, yeah.
I kind of feel as though, you know, we've got the confidence. We've actually spoken about this. As it's been mentioned, we've just sold our practice, but we have considered, you know, would we do it all over again? And there is certainly the potential that we may. I don't know what we'll do, but we've got the confidence. We kind of think we've cracked the egg now. We know we've sort of cracked the code. We know how to run a happy, profitable, successful business now, so that we don't have any fear going into that. And I suppose confidence also comes from financial security, like we got, and that's not from the sale. That was well and truly before the sale. And in fact, we didn't, when we started out with this, the goal wasn't to be sold in 5 years. The goal was to just have a good business, but by having a good business, we started having some opportunities come our way, which you basically don't say no to. So yeah.
So would it be fair to say that what's changed is you've gone from no clarity and low confidence and not knowing where to do or what to do, to now you've got clarity, you know what to do, and you back yourself to do it, and that's where your confidence come from. So you see yourself. Do you see yourselves as a good business leader, as as a good practice owner now?
Yeah, and you say clarity, and I think that's actually one of the really key things that we personally got out of AMG was, you know, even just the accountability of a 90-day plan or a 120-day plan, and actually setting ourselves goals, achievable goals, for that period of time, and making sure that they were goals that we're going to make a decent improvement on the business or on ourselves or whatever it was, because they could be personal ones. Yeah. But by actually setting the intention and keeping each other accountable, and our staff accountable, and yeah, that was great. And within AMG, obviously the coaches would keep us accountable, but we'd all keep everybody else within the group accountable as well.
It seems that what you're saying is it's more the structure, as opposed to, you know, you haven't really given us one or two things. You've sort of said a couple of things were different, but it was really the structure of the 3 or 4 things you're going to do in the next 90 days, the compound effect of doing that over a period of time. Is that where your confidence has come from? Because you've seen the result, therefore your confidence comes as
I think
almost
so.
trusting that process.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So, looking back, let's say it's 2007. You're about to start a vet practice. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself there about the sort of practice that you're buying, what you're going to do, how you're going to go about it? Talking to your...
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind as an old man is I would tell myself to stretch. I would say stretch.
There you go. That's good advice for anyone listening. Stretch.
But in business, you know, when we actually started in AMG, there was another young couple who had just bought a practice, and they started with us, and I wish we were them. I wish we'd have done that. I wish we'd have got on this program, or you know, AMG wasn't around at that stage, but you know, something. If there was coaching or people that we knew that we could have leaned on back then, I would strongly recommend a younger version of myself to take that up.
And it's something we've said to the new owners of our business, that we cannot stress enough how they need to be doing it. You know, but I think you know it all until you realise you don't.
You know, I'd actually go even further than that, Sam, and as if we were to do something again, we would, like, if we didn't sell, we would still be cracking on. We'd be coming back and being at the next event. But and I think if we get into business again, you know, it's certainly something that we'd be looking at doing again, because you never stop learning. And I think anybody that doesn't, and this is only an opinion, but I think anybody that doesn't have that mindset, well, I don't think you're going to achieve what you can, because you've just got to be open to the fact that we're always learning. Things are always changing around us. And yeah, with a group like AMG, you're with like-minded people, and it just, I don't know, it sort of expedites the progress.
It's really the environment you're putting yourself into. Like, it's fertile soil that you're getting a certain amount of information that can keep stretching you. B,
Yep.
you're putting it into a process, so it's a planned process that's happening every 90 days. C, you're getting around similar mindset people who are kind of cheering for you and sharing ideas and helping you. So it's those sort of bits of fertilizer, I guess, that helps you grow faster through the process.
Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron, as the great Steve McKnight says.
That's it.
Awesome. And this is a bit cheeky. Looking forward. So at the last event, Jason, we said, Jason's like, well, Louise can have a week off and then we're going to go and start another practice. I'm assuming we're not getting that one across the line.
Not yet.
Just so for people can get the sense of what it's actually like, what does it feel like at the moment? You're in this scenario, the deal's done, you've set yourself up, financially things are looking pretty rosy. What's it feel like? What does life feel like sitting in the situation you're in now?
Well, it's funny because it feels a bit different now. To be honest, I actually feel a bit lost because my emails have all been redirected. I'm not getting phone calls. I'm off all the messenger groups. But about 6 weeks ago, when we signed on the line to sell the business, I could not believe the feeling of relief. You don't realize how much weight you carry as a business owner until it's not there. And that's what I say. Like, a few of my girls, when we told them, they were a bit upset because they didn't see it coming. And although they'll support these girls, it was a big change. And I said to them, I will miss you all heaps, but I will not miss worrying about you and thinking about you all 24/7.
And that's one of the realizations, I think, that you get as a business owner, and I've certainly had over the last few years, is a lot of that stress that you carry with it is not just about yourselves and how you're running the business. It's actually about what that business provides. 20 odd families rely on that business running well.
Sure.
And being able to take a wage home and everything else like that. And you don't sit there and you're not constantly, it's not constantly at the front of your mind, but that weight is on your shoulders, right? And that's the weight that I've kind of felt go. Like it's us. Now we just really have to worry about, Louise, myself, and our 3 kids, and what we're doing, and I've still got another job, which but that's even good in itself, because I can actually focus all on that now and actually enjoy my time off. So, yeah.
So do you just feel like you've got more choices in life? Like we could do this, we could do this. That must be a nice feeling.
It is a nice feeling. For me, it's a strange feeling. I've always been, I suppose, as a vet, your days are so accounted for. You look at the calendar, you know who's coming in. And so to have an open calendar has been a bit strange. The other morning, I think both our sons went to work. Jason went to work, our daughter was at work, and I wasn't. I was like, which show do I watch now? But I'm not planning. I'm not back at work yet after a week, and I won't be back at work for a while, but I will do something. But I think, the potential for what could be is huge. Who knows?
Well, as they say, the reward for a game well played is a bigger, more exciting game that you're more leveraged in and more aligned with exactly what you want to do. And generally that game will find you if you don't push it. It turns up at the perfect timing.
Oh, well, here's hoping.
Well, hey guys, thanks for sharing so much of your journey with so much vulnerability. And if you're listening to why I wanted you to see this is what the full journey can look like, of start to finish, not just here's an adrenaline hit or a heroin hit of one weekend. And that's part of the process. But I'm such a fan of both the two of you, not only because you're lovely people, but you just stayed with the process and come from a very, you were pretty challenged when I first met, to be honest. To see where you are now, honestly, gives me goosebumps. You've earned the stripes, and just that life's opened up and give you so much more options that you can live it on your terms. Kudos to both of you. It's been an honor and a privilege to be part of it.
Well,
thank you.
Likewise, Sam. we are privileged to have, you know, been involved in the group. We've made some great friends along the way as well. I learned a lot, and we're certainly better people for it. And I actually think, from a parenting point of view, I think we're making better people as well out of our kids for the change in ourselves and the learnings that we've made along the way as well. So
our youngest is now 14 and they're at a great age. And yeah, look, I've worked really hard while they've been little, but we've still done a lot with them. You know, the business has helped us take them overseas and things like that and back to Scotland. And now I can have a bit more time to drive them around while they still need me to.
And that's another thing I just thought of now as well, before we wrap up, is that it's not just if you're in a hole that the AMG is good. Like I said, if we're you know, really at the end, our business was running we've handed over a business that's running very well, but anywhere in between, there's benefits of being involved. And, you know, I think if you look back through, how many years did we have it? 18 years. It's cyclic, you know, you have good times, you have bad times, but we certainly had our best times, you know, since we've been involved in AMG.
Yeah,
Thank
I think there's a misconception that coaching is for struggling businesses. And yeah, it does help struggling businesses, don't get me wrong, but it's really for anyone who wants to play at a different level. The businesses that actually respond the fastest and do the best are the ones that actually look like they don't need it. You know, they're already profitable, already doing well, but they're looking for the edge. They just want to do a better job of it. So it's really that growth mindset. So good point.
100%.
All right. Awesome, guys. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. And I'll look forward to hearing about the next chapter.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. See ya.